How is it going, guys? I hope your day is going better than mine. We were at a high and then we ran into a pretty crappy situation. So we were at the dyno this morning to get the car tuned. We're the first GR86 to be tuned on E85, so I'm so stoked on that. But then on the way home, on the interstate, there was a huge chunk of metal that got flung into my rear quarter panel. And just hearing the sound of the impact on the car, it just sliced through me and honestly kind of broke me. I could see the damage in the side view mirror and it freaking sucks. It's probably gonna be an expensive fix that I obviously didn't plan for. Give this video a thumbs up to show your grievances. I'm gonna get it fixed, but you know, I just didn't want to have to deal with that. On the bright side, we did make more power with E85. We ended up with 227 wheel horsepower and 181 foot-pounds of torque. So that's about a gain of 20 horsepower and 10 foot-pounds of torque over stock. Keep in mind that's with a completely stock car, stock motor, besides the aftermarket catback that I installed. So the question now is, how much power can this car make with full bolt-ons, E85 and a tune? So that's what we're taking care of today. We're gonna install a header, overpipe, front pipe, maybe an intake, or maybe just mess with the stock intake, go back to the dyno and see where we end up. I'm hoping to see something around that 240 mark, fingers crossed. Anything more than that would be crazy. First things first, we need to remove the skid pan and the tray underneath the transmission to get access to the header, overpipe, and front pipe. We're gonna work on removing the front pipe and loosening up the overpipe before we get to the header. It looks like we got to take the subframe brace off before we can get access to the overpipe to front pipe nuts. It's just 3 14mm bolts here. All right, let's see if we can break these loose. And 2. Should be able to pull this off now. We've got the header to overpipe nuts next. Oh, these are on here. Oh, there we go. The clearance to remove the overpipe is really tight. So what I've done is unbolted the engine mounts from the subframe. We've got a hoist stand underneath the oil pan, and we're gonna lift the engine a couple inches so that we have more room to wiggle the overpipe out. Assuming we lifted the engine up enough, we should be able to sneak this out the back. Easy as that. Now we can move on to the header. Make sure you've got both of the O2 sensors unplugged and unclipped from the engine. That way when you drop the header, they don't get damaged. There's gonna be 3 14mm nuts on each side, 2 on the outer side, and 1 in between the runners. This is the most easily accessible one, so I'm gonna leave it loosely on there so it catches it when I have the rest off, and then once I have everything dropped, I can remove that nut and drop the header. I just gotta undo this nut and we can pull this thing off. There it goes. Make sure the O2 sensors aren't caught on anything. Voila. Before we install the new header, let's talk about what exactly we are installing. This is a prototype equal length header from Off the Line Performance. This was designed by one of the best fabricators I know, which is why I agreed to test it on my car. It's a true equal length, equal stepped header. The production model is gonna have less welds in this. It's also gonna be catted with a 300 cell high flow cat, but since this is a prototype model, we have a catless version. Now, what I was told was that this made 20 wheel horsepower with no tune. I have no information to back up that claim. I'm skeptical but optimistic. If this actually makes that 20 wheel horsepower, that is definitely gonna put us in that 240 or above that 240 range. So I'm curious to see how the car is gonna react once we get this thing installed. We're gonna pair up the header with a JDL Overpipe front pipe combo. This is their dual resonated version to try and keep this setup as drone free as possible. But I have a feeling with the header and Overpipe front pipe combo, this car is gonna sound completely nuts. We've got the O2 sensors transferred over and new gaskets in place. So we will slide our new header on. Get this nut reinstalled to hold it into place. And then reinstall the rest. Got the header installed, so we have the Overpipe front pipe combo next. This is a little bit different of a design than you would normally see. We're gonna slide the front portion in first, and then get a gasket and some bolts and nuts on there. Then we can install the front pipe portion. We'll put it on the hanger here to keep it in place. And then we need to get the V-band clamp in place. That V-band clamp is kind of a pain, but I think we got it. I've got our new header, Overpipe, and front pipe installed. The Catback is reconnected, so all I need to do now is reinstall the brace, covers, make sure the O2 sensors are plugged in, and then we can head off to the dyno in the morning. Guys, the cold start on this is so loud now. Listen to this. Car back on the dyno today. As you guys saw, we have a full exhaust setup now with the header, Overpipe, front pipe, and Catback. We're gonna leave the intake stock for now to see where we end up, and then we may mess around with it a little bit to see if we can eke out just a little bit more power. We are back from the dyno. I've got the graphs right here in front of me so we can talk numbers and compare the different modifications. Let's start with the stock baseline. We started with 209 horsepower and 169 foot-pounds of torque. I then had Graham tune it completely stock besides the Catback on 91 octane, and we jumped up to 221 horsepower and 177 foot-pounds of torque. So we gained about 12 horsepower and 8 foot-pounds of torque. After that, we added some E85 and that pushed us to 227 horsepower and 181 foot-pounds of torque, so an additional 6 horsepower and 4 foot-pounds of torque. We came back to the shop, installed the prototype OTL equal length header, the JDL overpipe front pipe combo, and went back to Graham to have him work his magic, and we ended up with 229 horsepower and 192 foot-pounds of torque. Just 2 horsepower and 11 foot-pounds of torque more than E85. Unfortunately, not the 240 we were hoping for, and I know some people are only worried about those peak numbers, but they rarely tell you the full story. The majority of the gains to be had here are in that mid-range. In the dip, we gained 15 horsepower and 18 foot-pounds of torque. And if you look at the graph, you can see from about 3,000 to 6,000 RPM, there's an increase in power across the board, and that's where most of us are going to be driving these cars at. Another thing you'll notice is that we've moved redline to 7,500. The stock tune has it set to 7,400, and when you hit redline on the stock tune, it cuts power until the revs drop to 7,100. We've changed that so you can stay pinned without having such a large delay. So instead of 7,400 to 7,100, it's more like 7,500 to 7,499. We may have also added a slight burble to the tune. That's why you hear the pops and gurgles after the dyno runs. Don't worry, it's not completely obnoxious. It doesn't happen all the time when I'm driving, but it is kind of fun to hear every now and then. So all in all, we gained 20 wheel horsepower and 23 foot-pounds of torque and increased power across the board. Not as much power as I was hoping, but I'm a reasonable person and I'll take what I can get. I actually do need to return that OTL header, so we're gonna be swapping it with something different and seeing if that makes a difference. But that is gonna do it for today, guys. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you guys are enjoying the GR86 content, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. The heat shield, son of a bitch. That's gonna round it off. Yeah, come on. No, you fucker.